The need to cut the budget was the centerpiece of Columbia City Manager John Glasscock's State of the City address. Glasscock says the city management challenges presented by the coronavirus pandemic are unprecedented. More from KRCG 13's Mark Slavitt at City Hall.
Columbia City Manager John Glasscock is asking department directors to submit budgets that include a 10% reduction in spending. Glasscock says that doesn't mean that all 10% of budget reductions will be used. Glasscock will use the submitted budgets to see what his options are for streamlining, especially with the uncertainty of revenues in the next 6 months to a year. Glasscock is considering new ways of collecting revenue instead of sales taxes to fund critical services. Job cuts and the elimination of some city positions are also on the table.
Some of the proposed cuts could include materials and supplies, reducing services, delaying projects, and workforce reductions. I have also encouraged department directors to review all current positions and the more than 150 vacant positions to assess which positions are truly necessary to provide critical needs and core services to our community.
Columbia City government is in a hiring freeze with the exception of critical service positions. City leaders have financial reserves to help them through uncertain times during the COVID-19 pandemic.
We're in pretty good shape with reserves. Now that can be eaten up really quick depending on, what you do or do not cut. You only get to use those once.
For the last 2 years, Amanda Pratt was on the grind, bartending at 2 different places, and with some encouragement, taking her talent of cooking and turning it into a business.
I love entertaining, and my friends thought I was a good cook, so they were like, why don't you do it for a living? I'm like, okay. Last summer, I started catering for the bands that play at Shady Gators. So that's where I kind of started to get well known and popular.
Even though her food was well received, Amanda wasn't immune to the financial fallout due to COVID-19. So she got creative.
So I started making my oils and butters and salad dressings, and I bottled them up and sold them, and it worked.
That's when the idea came to have a storefront to sell her goods. Despite the pandemic, Couture Cafe opened along the Bagnell Dam Boulevard strip in Lake Ozark. It took just 1 week to get the store ready for the grand opening, and the first few days were successful. Amanda acknowledges there are risks in opening a cafe in the middle of a pandemic, but she doesn't fret over the negatives.
I have a lot of people backing me. It's overwhelming. It's scary. I'm in over my head, I think. But it's exciting. I guess if it's not scary, it's not worth it, right?
The municipal election is just days away, and county clerk offices are taking extensive measures to make sure people feel safe while voting.
When you first come into the office, we have hand sanitizing stations all throughout the building. We have social distancing between the chairs to make sure everyone is 6 feet apart, and we have plexiglass shields between our staff and voters so that voters can have a safe experience as well, and we all wear masks.
Like Boone County, Cole and Callaway counties will have very similar setups and protocols.
We have, of course, gotten our cleaning supplies together. Each polling station will have a sneeze guard located there. For August and November, we will probably end up having to ramp it up a little bit. We will have 2 sneeze guards, and June is sort of almost like a test run.
Boone, Cole, and Callaway counties have received a substantial amount of absentee ballots for the municipal election.
I think the high number of absentees that we've had will mean that we just have fewer people coming out on election day, but still a total turnout of somewhere between 9 and 10%.
So last year it was a lot higher because of the school bond issue out at Blair Oaks, I think. And this year I think it's going to be a little lower just because of the COVID-19.
Depending on location, there are options for curbside voting by arrangement or just calling ahead. Expanded mail-in voting won't be an option for this upcoming election, but it could be for August and November statewide elections, and that would be under legislation that's waiting on Governor Mike Parsons' desk, waiting to be signed, and this would say voters could use the mail-in ballot option if they are 65 years or older, live in a nursing home, or have an underlying health condition. And people who don't qualify for one of those excuses could still use a mail-in option. However, they would have to get their ballot notarized.